Sup Squares, welcome to episode 13 of my Wonder Wheel series, where I let the wheel decide what game I will play that's available on the NSO. So today we got the legendary game known as Ninja Gaiden that came out on the NES in 1988. As far as my initial, history with the game series, I think I played one Ninja Gaiden game before, like for a very small stint, like 10 minutes. I think it was like Ninja Gaiden, something on the Xbox, the original Xbox. It was a hack and slash game. Honestly, this is completely different. This is the original Ninja Gaiden on the NES. So, like most NES games, it's a side scroller. So, as far as my initial reaction is concerned for the game, this is definitely one of the best games I've played so far. That's available on the NSO. Besides Kirby's Dream Land 3. These two games are by far the best two games I've played so far. I'm not sure this one's better than the Kirby. I think it might be by a hair, but I'll decide that when I actually rank it. To begin with the story of the game is essentially your father gets kidnapped by some kind of evil dude who wants to essentially, I guess, sacrifice him to summon a demon of some sort with two statues that your father, I guess, claims to have or something, and he gets captured. You gotta go get him and whatever. I'm pretty sure that's the main base of the story, which for an NES game is a pretty deep story. I'll give them that. I definitely like the cutscenes they had in the game. Again, for an NES game, that's pretty remarkable. So as far as gameplay is concerned, Control 6 move, A to jump, B to use your weapon. So obviously it's a side-scrolling game. You go from one end of the screen to the next end of the screen, in each part of the level. I think there's like 5-6 stages. Each stage gets progressively more difficult. I thought the enemies in this game were at the very beginning, they're, again, easy, but as the game progresses, they get much harder and their spawns become way more difficult as the game goes on. Like they really spawn them in like very inconvenient spots. Like right when you're jumping, right where you need to jump, that's where they'll spawn. Like it really becomes that difficult. And I feel like the game does a very good job of, again, for an NES game, trying to hit that home, does a very good job making you feel like a ninja. Like you really have to, go slow. You have to be slow and methodical about your movements and keep an eye out for the enemies, that are going to spawn on screen, as you continue forward. It's not really a game you can just, unless you know every single spawn point in the game by memory. It's a game you really have to take your time with and try to master, every single part of the level of the game. In that aspect, as far as for the gameplay, they did a very amazing job for a very first Ninja Gaiden game. That's, again, on the NES. Which, I mean, if you ask me what game console this was on, I'd say it's Super Nintendo. But because I think the game looks that good for an NES game, as far as the graphics are concerned. But again, we're talking about NES games, so we're not really worried about the graphics too much. As long as the game is, you can tell what's going on. I don't really care how bad the graphics look. For the difficulty, like this game is very difficult. Like, especially towards the end of the game, very difficult. The bosses when you learn their pattern, they're pretty easy. But when you're trying to get their pattern down and trying to learn how to beat them, it can get pretty difficult. Especially the very last boss, because you really have to like time your jumps and get your find your opening to hit him, and you have a time limit, so you can't eat every single second up trying to time your jumps. You really have to be on your game, time your jumps, but in a very efficient manner. I know I touched on this already, but the number one enemy I found the most annoying, besides the bosses, were those ninjas in the pink suits or something like that. I don't know what they were wearing. It looked pink to me. They looked like a bunch of old ladies throwing tree branches or whatever they were throwing. I don't know what they were. Like, they threw them in an arc. And again, they were in the most inconvenient spots in each level. Like, you had to, like, and plus the other enemies around them, you had to work around them and stuff like that. And then another thing they added onto the gameplay was basically you get to change weapons. You can get your shurikens and I think like fire and other weapons like that. So you have to really, and then you only have like, I think like some kind of like magic number or something. You can only use the special weapons so many times when you get them, and then once you run out of points or whatever, you can't use them anymore until you find more points from I guess enemy drops, or you pick up I guess essentially like more points. You pick up more points from enemies and drops. As far as replay value, I don't think this game has very much replay value in general. Again, because it's once you beat it once, I really don't think it's a game you need to go back to. It's the same. It's a one-player game, so I don't feel it's necessary to go back and play it again unless you want to try beat it faster with a better score. I guess again, that arcadey stuff I really don't care for. So yeah, as far as my gripes with the game, the only real issue I have with the game per se is some of the hitboxes especially for the bosses are really weird. Like, you have to hit them like specific spots, and it gets really difficult sometimes. Especially the last boss, his hitbox is weird. You have to I think hit his head or something, and it's pretty high. You got to do a pretty high jump, and while dodging his fireballs at the same time, it's very difficult. And then just the enemy spawns, but again, I think a lot of that has to do with just being a ninja. Expect the unexpected. The game is very difficult, so go in, take the game slow, and don't rush. For the most part, you will clear most levels in time, as long as you're efficient with your time. Don't stay too long in one spot. If I had to give Ninja Gaiden for the NES a score out of 10, verdict out of 10, I would give it 9 out of 10. I think that was a fantastic game. And then ranking, I want to say S, but I think with the couple of problems it has with the difficulty, I think it would turn a lot of people off. Because there's some games that are difficult, and I don't feel like I want to finish the game because it is so difficult. But this game was different. I felt compelled to finish the game, regardless of how difficult it was. So I think I'll go put a very high A. I think I'll go and put it above Kirby's Dream Land 3. So Ninja Gaiden is definitely the best game I've played on NES so far. Like, comment, subscribe, share, and stay square.
Bye.